Hi ladies, coming to you once again from my lovely back porch because I did not want to subject you to the continuous Mickey Mouse Clubhouse rerun that's happening inside of my house right now. It's summer break, yay! About a week left before the boys go back to school. Not that I'm counting or anything. Um, but what I wanted to jump on here and chat to you guys about, we have a lot of new members in our group. I'm so excited. I'm so happy that you guys have joined, but I thought it was time for me to jump on and give everybody a little recap of who I am, how I got to this position, why I'm doing this group and my business, and yeah, just give you a little recap of how I got to where I am today and why I'm so adamant about helping all of you. So, I tend to get a little wordy, so I'll try to keep this as short as possible. If you're more of a reader, you can go to my blog. It's from NICU to Life, blogspot.com, I think. I don't know, I have to check on that. I'll include the link on the bottom of this video. I haven't been in there in a while. I started that blog originally when Wyatt was first born, which was 5 years ago, and I kind of, it was my way of journaling this whole process of becoming a special needs parent and all the medical challenges he had, and it was my version of self-therapy to get my thoughts out of my own head and to also share with family and friends what was going on. So if you're more of a reader, feel free to go on there. It's a 5-year recap, so have fun with that. I'm more of a video person, hence why I'm on here. So let's see. Before Wyatt was born, I already had 3 boys. I had my own business. I was a personal trainer. I worked part-time on my own terms. So in retrospect, I felt like I had the perfect balance where I could work during the day when the kids were in school, or I could, work around my husband's schedule. Either way, I was working part-time and I was able to be home with the kids when they needed me. So when Wyatt came along, that was kind of my intention. I was like, okay, I'll just pop another kid out and then I'll go right back to what I was doing. Well, that's not exactly how it turned out. Pregnancy was fine. He was born at home intentionally with a midwife. Labor was really quick and easy. He was born 7 pounds 15 ounces at 5 a.m. on June 3rd, 2011. And everything was as smooth as it could have been until they cut the cord and he was supposed to breathe on his own, and he didn't. 911 was called. We got to the hospital. The local NICU couldn't figure it out. He got transported to the bigger children's hospital here in town in Orlando. Long story short, they did a bunch of testing and nobody really knew what was going on with him. He would be fine for a few hours during the day, breathing on his own, happy-go-lucky kid, and then he would crash, totally stop breathing. One of the doctors happened to have a case like that before, several years ago, and he said, let's do this one genetic testing just to see. It's a first shot, and we don't really know that he necessarily has this, but nothing else has come up conclusively. So they did, and sure enough, he has CCHS, which stands for Congenital Central Hypoventilation Syndrome. Rare disorder. There's roughly 1,200 cases worldwide, I think, to this day diagnosed, though they are suspecting a lot of SIDS cases are also related to CCHS, but that's preliminary research. Anyhow, so it basically means he was trached and put on a ventilator, and that's that. There's no cure for it. It's never gonna change. He's always gonna need the vent when he's sleeping. The riskiest time for him is when he's getting drowsy. He could be playing and be totally himself and looking fine and simply stop breathing and nobody would even know about it. He doesn't get out of breath. That autonomic nervous system function is simply not there. There's a few other things that go along with that. He's at high risk for spontaneous sinus pauses, so his heart's stopping basically. So we always kind of have that worry in the back of our minds and have to do yearly testing. His pupils don't dilate. He has trouble regulating his body temperature, so living here in Florida, going outside during the summer months is pretty much out of the question. At the same time, we're kind of lucked out because it doesn't get too cold here, which he also can't handle. This disorder is related to CO2 issues, so even though he could be breathing fine, his CO2 levels might be rising. And over the years, we've picked up a few cues on what his actual symptoms are, even though they're not traditional medical symptoms. So that was the diagnosis. While we were waiting for the test results, which took a month to get back, I went into research overdrive. I wanted to be prepared. Nothing in my head made sense. This disorder, out of sudden, everything clicked and connected the dots, whereas my husband was more of the sitting back and waiting. He didn't really want to look into it until we knew for sure. So to this day, we have different ways of dealing with things, which is fine. We just had to find our balance to, I guess, not resent each other for that. That was a big struggle for us for several years. As soon as, all this mess of 3 months in the NICU went down, we each took on different roles. He became the sole income person, taking on responsibility for 6 people in this house on one modest income at best. I had to straight out quit my business. And I became Wyatt's caretaker. I stayed home with him. It was very overwhelming. I mean, huge learning curve. Here you have a kid living on life support machines every night, and what we didn't know at the time was also that he was autistic, and that actually was an explanation that came much later at about 3.5, 4 years old. But he has breath holding episodes, so when he cries, he lets out all his air, and in people with a normal autonomic nervous system disorder, with a normal autonomic nervous system, once you cry hard enough, eventually your body takes over and breathes for you again. That doesn't happen for Wyatt, so he turns blue and goes really stiff, and he passes out, and he requires manual resuscitation. He used to do this a good 20 to 30 times a day as a baby. That's what we came home with at 3 months. Nursing coverage, as most of you know, is not the greatest. Private duty nursing is not covered by private insurance to begin with. So the first year we had some nursing on and off, but it wasn't a good fit for us, so we started taking turns. My husband would sleep in Wyatt's room, I would sleep in Wyatt's room, and we kind of went from there, but I will go into all those details as we go along. I'm pretty much an open book, so feel free to ask. I don't want to be on here for an hour and talk your head off. So let me know what questions you have. Let me know what questions you have about Wyatt and his diagnosis and how it affected the kids, or our marriage, or our careers, or my mental state of being, which, by the way, was a total mess at about 3 years into this journey. No, about 2 years into this journey, actually, is when I really started crashing and burning, and yeah, that's a whole nother story for a whole nother video. So yeah, it took a lot of struggles, a lot of trials and errors, and really just getting over our own fears of what this new life was going to be all about, and our own expectations of what it was supposed to be about, and moving on from there and paving our own path. A lot of the special needs journey for us, because he has this double diagnosis of a rare condition that no doctor knows anything about, and then autism on top of that, which makes his condition worse. There isn't a guidebook for it. We had to figure a lot of these things out on our own, try different things, see what works for him, what does he respond to, and that's how I basically got here. I was burned out to the point where, like I said, I'll go into this in another video, but I was to the point where I didn't want to get up the next morning. I had taken on so much and given up so much. I wasn't trusting myself anymore. I seriously thought at one point, maybe I should commit myself to some sort of facility because I couldn't function. I couldn't focus, I couldn't make simple decisions, I couldn't pick cereal off the aisle in the grocery store without having a panic attack and having to leave my entire cart of groceries. I couldn't make the simplest decisions, I couldn't focus, I couldn't sleep even though I was exhausted. I mean, the list goes on and on. I was a mess. Plain and simple, I was a mess. And when I started to have those thoughts of not trusting myself, that's when I really had to dig deep, and I literally just said, this is insane. I feel like I'm going insane. This is enough. I have to change this. I'm the only one who can change this. And it was a rough road. It was a long road. But now I'm here. You know, I truly believe at this point that while everything is still work in progress, I'm not perfect. I'm not, by no means the expert on absolutely everything. I can tell you what caregiver burnout is like at its very worst, when you wish you wouldn't wake up the next morning, and how to get out of it. And there are still things I'm struggling with now. There's still things I'm working on now, and that is why I told you guys last week I made the commitment to hire my own coach. It was scary as hell, and I sure as hell didn't have the money because, like I said, we're living off one income, six-person family. We have debt, over our heads with medical bills and student loans and cars, and I mean, you know the deal, the regular stuff. But I just felt like I've done everything I can, and I need somebody else to really call me out on my excuses, call me out on my blocks, and push me out of my own comfort zone so I can get out of my own way once again and grow even further, improve even further. When you're working on challenges yourself, there are a lot of things that you can do on your own. I completely agree with that. I mean, I did it. I did change my mindset to going from everything is negative and I don't want to live to seeing the positive again and focusing on that. However, we all live in our own little bubble, and we can only see so much ourselves. And when you reach that point where, okay, I'm great, but I still have X, Y, and Z I need to work on, and I don't really know how to do that, it's time to reach out and get somebody else to kick your own butt. So that's really why I hired my own coach. It's a huge commitment. It's a personal commitment. It's a business commitment because my mindset affects what I do, personally and in my business. So it's scary as hell, but it felt right. It felt that's what I needed. I needed somebody to push my buttons, to ask me questions that I'm not comfortable with, so that I can grow even more and see things from a different perspective and take action. So this is why I'm here, really, ultimately. I may not be your coach yet. That's okay. It's okay if you're here for the free stuff and just want to see the videos and take your own action steps right now. That's totally fine. I just want you to know that I am here and that I get it. And when you are ready, you know how to reach me. Know what you are capable of, and know when you have reached that line where you have to say enough and I need to take bold and brave action. So that's what I'm here. I'm here to help you guys on this journey with all the daily stuff that I post on my group. And just FYI, I'm more of a spontaneous person, based on, what comes up emotionally and what is discussed in the group already. So I post a lot of content based around that, but I do have somewhat of a consistent content schedule that I tend to stick with. If you already subscribe to my website, you know what that is because I send out my newsletter every Monday, so you get a little bit of a heads up what's coming on. But yeah, ask me anything. I'm an open book. Ask me anything that you're struggling with, that you need help with, that you want advice on. Feel free in the group to really just share your stories, because I guarantee you there's somebody else who can relate and who might not be brave enough to talk about it themselves, but would love to hear from you. Ask your questions, leave comments, start your own conversations. You don't have to wait for me to post anything. This group is a safe place to really connect with one another. I don't want to be the lead on all of this, so feel free to jump in and take a little bit of the lead. I really just want to make sure that everybody understands this group is here for you. It is a safe place to vent about your day. It is a safe place to ask questions and raise concerns, and really to lift each other up and help each other along the way. We're all work in progress, and that's okay. So if you have questions, comments, want to know more about my life, and don't want to read my entire blog from 5 years, comment below. Let me know. It's all good. I'm an open book. You can ask me just about anything. I'm not shy. And as you've probably noticed in my group, I also don't hold back on asking you the tough questions. So be brave. Connect with all of these lovely ladies on here in the group. And ask away. Let's move you closer to who you want to be and the life you envision for yourself, despite being a special needs mom.